At 6:19 in the evening, the parking lot had gone dull around the edges. The last traffic noise still seemed to be inside her shoulders, even though the car was no longer moving. She sat there for one extra minute. Not because she had a plan. Not because anything dramatic had happened. The small argument from earlier had already settled into that awkward quiet that comes after both people stop trying to be right. There was only the soft tick of the engine cooling, the seatbelt across her uniform, and her hands resting in her lap like they had finished more than one shift. All day, the break room had held its same pale light. Fluorescent panels above. Refrigerator humming in the corner. A glass of water on the table, clear and plain, the kind of thing she noticed only when her body had become tired enough to ask without words. Later, there would be uniforms to wash. A laptop to close. Household sounds returning from the other rooms, softer now, not asking much at first. But for this minute, she did not move. She only loosened the seatbelt a little and stayed where she was, feeling the small room around her that no one else could see. A little room to stop performing strength. A little room to come back to the present before the house needed her again. By the time she opened the car door, the evening air had cooled just enough to touch her face differently from the air inside the building. It was not fresh exactly. It carried the smell of asphalt, cut grass from somewhere near the edge of the lot, and a little exhaust from the road beyond the clinic. Still, it was outside. For a moment, that was enough. She stood beside the car with one hand on the door, letting her bag stay where it was on the passenger seat. Her uniform felt creased in the places where the day had pressed against her. The back of her knees. The bend of her elbows. The line across her waist where the seatbelt had rested. There were small marks of work all over her, none of them worth mentioning to anyone, all of them real. Inside the building, the break room would still be lit the same way. Those fluorescent lights never really softened. They made everything look a little tired before anyone admitted to being tired. The refrigerator had hummed through lunch containers, half-read notices on the bulletin board, a paper towel left near the sink, and the glass of water she had set down between tasks. She had meant to drink all of it. She had taken 2 sips and then heard her name called from the hall. That was how the day had gone. A sip here. A step there. A gentle word given before she had enough breath to feel gentle. Someone's blanket pulled up. Someone's tray adjusted. Someone asking the same question again, not because they wanted to be difficult, but because the body and mind do strange things when a person is tired or afraid. She knew that kind of tiredness. Not the same kind, maybe. But close enough to recognize. At home, the argument had already lost its sharp edge. It had been small. The kind that starts around one practical thing and somehow carries 5 other things inside it. A tone. A delayed reply. Laundry waiting too long. The laptop left open on the table. One person feeling unseen, the other person feeling accused. Then silence. Then the ordinary return of movement. That was the part no one talks about much. How life continues after a small hurt. How the sink still needs rinsing. How the washing machine still waits with its round dark mouth open. How a person can still take uniforms from the hamper, separate what needs washing, check the pockets, and move through the house without making a speech about being hurt. The house did not look dramatic when she came in. It looked like a house. Shoes near the door. A light on in the hallway. The low sound of something from another room, maybe a television, maybe water running, maybe just the pipes settling in the walls. On the table, the laptop waited to be closed, its screen dimming as though it too had reached the end of what it could hold. She set her bag down. Then she sat in the office chair. For a little while, she did not touch the laptop. She only looked at the glass of water she had brought in from the kitchen. Clear, half full, catching the small reflection of the room. The chair gave slightly under her weight. The household sound faded back, not gone, only farther away. Her hands rested around the glass, but she did not lift it yet. There was something careful in that pause. Not careful like fear. More like the way tired hands know how to hold something without spilling it. More like the way a person rebuilds routine, not by making a promise, but by returning to one small thing and letting it be small. The uniforms could wait 1 minute. The laptop could wait. Even the last bit of the argument could sit where it was, no longer hot, no longer needing to be handled right away. The glass of water stayed cool in her hands. And the room, for once, did not ask her to be strong before she had come back to herself. The uniforms were still in the hamper near the laundry room door, folded over themselves in a tired heap. They were not dirty in a way anyone else would notice from across the room. Just worn from a long shift. Softened by hours of walking, bending, lifting, waiting, answering. She could see them from the office chair if she turned her head a little. So she did not turn her head. The laptop screen had gone dark now. That small black rectangle reflected the room back in pieces, the edge of the table, the dim ceiling light, the outline of her shoulders. It was strange how much of the day could follow a person into a house through a screen. Messages. Schedules. Reminders. A form left unfinished. A note she had meant to read. She closed it with one hand. The sound was small. Still, something in her body heard it. Not everything was finished, but one thing was closed. That was all the sound meant. It did not fix the earlier argument. It did not fold the uniforms or start the washer. It did not make her suddenly patient or clear. It was only a small lid coming down on one part of the day. Sometimes that is the only kind of ending a day gives. The glass of water sat near her right hand. She lifted it and took a slow drink. Not because she was trying to take care of herself in any large, declared way. The water was there. Her throat was dry. Her hand knew what to do. In the break room earlier, the same kind of glass had stood on the table under those hard lights. It had looked almost too simple for the day around it. While the refrigerator hummed, people came in and out with containers, plastic forks, coffee reheated too many times, shoes squeaking on the floor. Someone laughed once, then lowered their voice when the hallway got busy again. The glass had waited there. Clear water. Fluorescent light. A ring of moisture underneath. She remembered looking at it and thinking she would come back to it in a second. Then the second opened into another task. That happened so often it no longer surprised her. A body could become trained to leave its own needs in small places. A sip left on a table. A bathroom break delayed. A sandwich half wrapped again. A breath held until the hallway was empty. There was no bitterness in the thought. Only recognition. In the office chair, the house moved lightly around her. A cabinet closed somewhere. A floorboard answered. The refrigerator in the kitchen clicked on and began its low, familiar work. It was not the same hum as the break room, but her body connected them anyway. One hum from work. One hum from home. Both carrying the day forward without asking to be noticed. She held the glass against her palm. The argument from earlier came back in a quieter shape. Not the words exactly. More the feeling after them. That little stiffness that stayed in the kitchen after both people had walked away. The way a normal room can suddenly feel like it has corners you do not want to touch. But now, from this chair, it seemed less sharp. Maybe because the house had kept being itself. The table had not changed. The laundry had not changed. The water in the glass had no opinion about what had been said. It simply held the light and waited for her hand. She took another drink. Then she set the glass down carefully, almost without sound. There was something merciful about ordinary things after a person has been trying too hard to stay composed. Not grand mercy. Not the kind anyone would name. Just the quiet fact that a glass can be held, a chair can take your weight, a laptop can close, and the next minute can arrive without requiring a speech. She sat there long enough for her breathing to become noticeable again. In. Out. The house was not fully quiet. It was only settling. And she, still in her uniform, still with laundry waiting, still with a little ache left from the day, began to feel the smallest distance between herself and the strength she had been wearing. Not losing it. Just setting it beside her for a minute. The washer had a way of making the house sound occupied, even when no one was speaking. She stood in the laundry room with the uniforms gathered in her arms, feeling the familiar weight of them against her chest. The fabric was soft in some places, stiff in others. A pocket turned inside out. A sleeve twisted. One small stain she had not noticed before. Nothing surprising. Nothing large enough to become a story. She checked the pockets anyway. A pen cap. A folded note with a room number on it. A hair tie she had borrowed and forgotten to return. Small evidence of the day, gathered where the body had carried it. The washing machine opened with its usual hollow sound. She placed the uniforms inside, one by one, not quickly, not slowly. Just the way a person moves when the task is known so well the hands can do it without being told. For a moment, the house felt almost kind. Not easy. Not healed. Just kind in the way familiar tasks can be kind when they do not ask for new words. The detergent cap. The dial. The soft thud of fabric settling. The water beginning somewhere behind the metal wall of the machine. She listened. The sound was different from the break room refrigerator, different from traffic, different from the office chair settling under her. But all of it belonged to the same evening. Hum. Click. Water. Breath. The small machinery of a life continuing after the louder parts have passed. Earlier, in the car, she had loosened the seatbelt and stayed still. That small action seemed to follow her now, not as a decision, but as a feeling her body remembered. The slight release across her chest. The permission not to open the door right away. The private minute before the house could see her face. There are pauses no one witnesses. They still count. She turned back toward the office chair and saw the glass of water waiting on the table. It looked ordinary again. Not symbolic. Not special. Just a glass, half full, with the room bending faintly through it. But something in her had begun to trust ordinary things more than large sentences. Large sentences had not helped much during the argument. They had only made both people tired in a different way. The smaller things had been easier to return to. The laundry. The water. The closed laptop. The way the hallway light reached the edge of the floor. The way household sound faded and returned, like the house was breathing in its own plain rhythm. She sat again. This time, she did not feel the same need to brace herself. The argument was still there, somewhere behind the evening. It had not disappeared. It had simply lost the right to fill the whole room. That felt like enough for now. Sometimes a settled argument does not become tenderness right away. Sometimes it only becomes a room where no one is speaking sharply anymore. And that can be a beginning. She lifted the glass again. The water had warmed slightly from sitting out, but it still touched the back of her throat with a simple, quiet relief. Her hands, so used to reaching, lifting, adjusting, helping, had nothing to manage in that moment except the glass. It was almost strange. At work, her hands were always answering something. A call light. A tray. A blanket. A shoulder needing support. A door that would not stay open. A cup placed closer to someone who could not quite reach it. Here, her hands could rest. They could hold water. They could be tired without explaining what had made them tired. The washer settled into its cycle. From another room, a household sound rose and faded. The office chair held her again. The laptop stayed closed. She did not become a different person in that room. She did not become patient all at once, or soft all at once, or grateful in any bright way. She only came back a little. Back to the chair. Back to the glass. Back to the present before the house fully needed her again. And in that small return, there was a comfort so quiet it almost did not ask to be named. The laundry room light made everything look a little flatter than it was. The white wall. The narrow shelf. The detergent bottle with the cap not fully tightened. A stray sock near the baseboard, left behind from some other load, some other evening when the house had also been asking for more than she could name. She picked up the sock and set it on top of the washer. The machine kept turning. There was comfort in that kind of sound. Not because it was beautiful. It was not. It was plain and mechanical, water and fabric moving in a circle. But it gave the house a rhythm that did not depend on anyone speaking correctly. It did not ask who had been tired first, or who had sounded sharper than they meant to, or why a small argument could leave such a long aftertaste. It only kept going. She stood there with one hand resting on the warm edge of the machine and let the vibration come through her palm. Her hands had known so many kinds of surfaces that day. Bed rails. Plastic cups. Door handles. A lunch container in the break room. The cold glass of water. The steering wheel. The seatbelt when she loosened it, slowly, without moving right away. Now, the washer. A life can be felt through what the hands touch. She did not think the sentence. She only felt the truth of it in a quiet, wordless way. From the other room, the laptop remained closed. That mattered more than she expected. It was not a large boundary. It was not a statement. But the closed screen had changed the table. It had made the office chair feel less like a waiting room for another responsibility and more like a place where a person could sit down. The glass of water still waited there. Half full now? She could see it when she stepped back into the room. The household sounds had spread out and softened. The washer behind her. The refrigerator in the kitchen. A little movement somewhere down the hall. Nothing dramatic. Nothing fully quiet either. That was how most evenings were. Not peace exactly. More like ordinary noise with its edges lowered. She sat in the office chair again and let her shoulders drop by a small amount. The kind of small amount no one would notice from across the room. But she noticed it. The body notices even the quietest permission. For a while, she looked at the glass without picking it up. It held the room in a bent, simple way. A slant of light. The dark line of the table. Her fingers resting beside it. She thought of the break room again, the fluorescent lights, the refrigerator hum, the way everyone moved in and out carrying tiredness in paper bags and plastic containers. No one had said they were worn down. They had only reheated food, checked phones, filled cups, rubbed the back of a neck, and gone back out. So much care happens without announcement. That thought did not make her proud. It did not make her sad in any heavy way. It only made the room feel wider for a moment, as if her own tiredness belonged to something human and common, not something she had failed to handle. The argument from earlier softened again. She could remember the tone of it, but not every word. Maybe that was a kindness. Maybe some words lose their shape when the body finally has enough quiet around it. What remained was not blame, exactly. It was the tiredness under the blame. The wish to be seen without having to explain. The wish for the other person to understand without being pushed. She wrapped one hand around the glass. The water was room temperature now. Still, when she drank it, something inside her answered. Not with relief loud enough to become a feeling. Just a small returning. The washer turned. The house breathed. And before she stood up again, before she went toward the next small task, she let herself sit there as someone who did not have to perform strength for the empty room. For a while, the room held itself around her. The washer kept moving behind the wall. The kitchen refrigerator hummed in its familiar way. Somewhere farther off, a drawer opened and closed, and then the house returned to the kind of quiet that still had people inside it. She stayed in the office chair. The glass of water sat near her hand, lower than before. A faint ring had formed on the table where it had been placed and lifted, placed and lifted. She noticed it without reaching for a napkin. There would be time for that. There would be time for the small wiping, the putting away, the last check of the washer, the folded uniforms later when the fabric came out warm and heavy. For now, the ring stayed there. It was strange, how difficult it could be to let a small thing remain unfinished. Not because anyone would complain. Not because it mattered much. But because the habit of answering everything had become part of her posture. Even sitting down, some part of her was ready to stand. Ready to fix the little thing before it became a bigger thing. Ready to soften her voice before anyone heard how tired it was. Ready to be fine before she had actually arrived. She looked at her hands. They did not look special. A little dry from soap. A faint mark near one knuckle. Nails kept short because work made that simpler. Hands that had washed, lifted, straightened, carried, and then come home to touch detergent, a laptop lid, a seatbelt, a glass. There was nothing grand in them. Still, they had brought her through the day. The small argument had settled into the background now, like a sound from another room. It had not become nothing. It had only become something that did not need to be held with both hands. She could feel the difference. Earlier, it had followed her into the car, into that one extra minute, into the place where she loosened the seatbelt and did not move right away. Now it sat farther away. Maybe that was what the present did sometimes. It did not erase what happened. It simply gave each thing its own chair. The argument could sit over there. The laundry could turn in the machine. The glass could stay on the table. Her tired body could be here, breathing, not having to manage all of it at once. The house was not fully awake around her anymore. It was not asleep either. It was in that middle hour when rooms begin to lower their voices. The workday had loosened its grip. The evening had not yet become night. There was still enough light to see the table clearly, but not enough to make everything feel exposed. She liked that kind of light. It did not ask for much. She reached for the glass again and held it without drinking. The water shifted slightly against the side, making the smallest sound. In the break room, under the fluorescent lights, a glass like this had waited while she moved from one need to another. Here, it waited differently. No call light. No hallway voice. No chart to check. No one needing her hands before she had found them herself. Just water. Just a chair. Just a minute that stayed a minute. Her shoulders lowered again, not all the way, but enough. Traffic had finally left the body. The road noise, the brake lights, the lane changes, the quiet effort of being alert after already being tired. All of that seemed to drain slowly out through her feet, into the floor beneath the chair. She took one last sip. The water was plain. That was its comfort. It did not try to become anything else. It did not cheer her up. It did not explain the day back to her. It only met the body where it was. And for a moment, she could meet herself that way too. Plainly. Without a speech. Without strength arranged on her face before the next person came into the room, the washer finished its cycle with a small click that seemed louder than it should have. She heard it from the office chair and did not stand up right away. The house had moved deeper into evening. Not late night, not yet. But the rooms had begun to hold themselves more gently. The kind of hour when a ceiling light feels too bright, when the hallway looks longer than it is, when ordinary sounds spread out and leave space between them. She looked toward the laundry room. The uniforms were clean now, waiting in the machine. They would need to be moved to the dryer, then folded later. Tomorrow, one of them would be worn again under the same bright lights, past the same break room refrigerator, through the same quiet tasks no one noticed unless they were not done. But she stayed seated for another breath. Then another. It was almost the same as the car. That one extra minute. A small refusal to rush from one role into the next without letting the body understand where it was. She could still remember the seatbelt loosening across her chest. The soft give of it. The way her hand had moved slowly, not because she was thinking about the movement, but because tired hands sometimes know how to be gentle before the mind catches up. Now her hand rested beside the glass of water. The glass was almost empty. A small curve of water remained at the bottom, catching the room in a pale shape. The table had its faint ring. The laptop stayed closed. The household sound had faded until she could hear the refrigerator more clearly from the kitchen, steady and low, like something keeping watch without making a claim. She thought again of the argument, but it arrived without heat. Only a memory of two tired people standing too close to their own edges. Two voices trying to be heard and missing each other by just enough to hurt. It had settled now, but not in a perfect way. More like dust settling after someone walks through a room. Still there. Less in the air. She let that be enough. The office chair held her in its ordinary way. The room was not beautiful. Papers near the edge of the table. A cord trailing toward the wall. The glass with its water line. A laundry basket waiting somewhere beyond the doorway. But inside that plainness, there was a softness she had not felt when she first came in. Maybe because nothing here asked her to prove she had handled the day well. The room did not ask whether she had been patient enough. The water did not ask whether she had spoken kindly enough. The closed laptop did not ask her to explain why she was tired. For once, the quiet was not a test. It was only quiet. She stood slowly and walked to the laundry room. The washer door opened, and warm, clean air lifted from the drum. She pulled the uniforms out one piece at a time, feeling the damp weight of them, the familiar shape of tomorrow waiting inside today. She placed them in the dryer. The door closed with a low sound. When the machine began to turn, she stayed there with her hand on top of it, feeling the first gentle rotation. Fabric moving. Air warming. A small part of life being made ready again. There was gratitude in it, but not the kind that needed a bright name. Only this: the day had been hard, and something had still carried her home. Only this: her hands were tired, and they were still here. Only this: before the house asked for anything else, she had found one quiet place inside the present and sat there long enough to return. Later, when the dryer was still turning, she returned to the office chair one more time. The glass of water was empty now. A few drops clung to the inside, catching the light in small places. The ring on the table had begun to fade on its own. The laptop stayed closed. From the laundry room, warm air moved behind the dryer door, lifting the uniforms, letting them fall, lifting them again. The house had not become silent. It had only lowered itself. That was enough. She sat with her hands open in her lap, no longer holding the glass, no longer reaching for the next thing. For a moment, they were simply hands. Dry from soap. Tired from work. Known by the day and still belonging to her. The small argument rested somewhere behind the evening. The break room, the fluorescent lights, The refrigerator hum, the traffic, the parked car, the loosening seatbelt, all of it seemed to gather and settle without needing to be sorted. Nothing had been solved in a bright way. Still, something had softened. At 6:19, she had given herself one extra minute before moving. Now, inside the house, that minute seemed to have followed her here. It had become the chair, the water, the laundry turning, the faint sound of home continuing around her. Before tomorrow's uniform was ready, before the next shift, before anyone needed her voice or her hands again, she sat in the present without arranging her strength. Just breathing. Just here. And the quiet held,